I was raised in a Christian family. I had wonderful parents. We attended church often and regularly. And when I was 16, I decided I was going to live my own life. I was going to live the way I wanted to live. And I got involved in gangs. And along with that lifestyle came drug addiction and violence. And inside me, I always knew it was wrong. And the more guilt I felt, the more drugs I did. This was how I got through the way I treated people and the things I did. It didn't take long to end up in jail. Being in and out of jail, my life was just spiraling out of control. And I got in a car accident headed northbound on the 101, returning home from LA one night. And I rolled my car several times down the freeway. And during that time, I had this vision of myself falling through fire. And I knew I was going to hell. And all I could do was scream the name Jesus. And the moment I screamed Jesus, I came back to reality. And I was standing outside of this mangled mess of a car with just a few bumps and scratches, having no idea how I survived this accident. And to this day, I believe that I was plucked from that car by angels. I don't know. I didn't see that. But I know that it's a miracle that I'm alive today, that I survived that accident. And you think that that experience would have made me change my lifestyle. But I was stuck. I was trapped in the way I was living life, and I couldn't get out. And the day after that accident, I started right back where I had left off. And over time, the memory of that miracle started to fade and be pushed into the back of my mind. And it was becoming a distant memory. It wasn't as real as it was from the first moment. And then my sister, she was a young, beautiful lady. She had just gotten married. She had 3 children from a previous relationship, and we were watching her children one night so her and her new husband could go out. And we received a phone call real early on a Sunday morning. She had been killed in a car accident. Here's my sister doing right, living for God, dying in an accident, a car accident similar to mine. And it brought back that memory of God saving my life. She deserved to live. I didn't. And it brought back that memory of the night that God saved me from hell. And I had no idea what to do. I just knew at that time in my life when I felt pain, I wanted other people to feel the pain I felt. And my first thought was to inflict some sort of pain on someone else. But I didn't want to go back to jail. And I didn't want to lose my freedom again. And she had taken me to a church, North County Christian Fellowship, a couple times with her, because that's where she attended church. And it was about 6:30 in the morning, and I knew that they had an early service. And so to keep myself from doing something stupid, I rushed to that church, and there was no one in there. They were kind of setting up in the front for worship, and I just sat in the back row, and I was just sobbing. I couldn't control my emotions. I've never felt a pain that I felt that night. I've never felt anything like that since then either. And I just cried out to God, and I said, God, if this is how life is, I don't want to live. I don't want to feel this way. but if you can change me, I'll give you my life. And right about that time, the youth pastor and the Sunday school coordinator must have heard me sobbing in the back row, and they came, and the Sunday school the teacher, she knew my sister and her children, and so she prayed with me, and I prayed, and I gave my life to Christ that morning. It was the worst day of my life, but it was also the best day of my life. And I knew something had happened. I knew something was changing inside of me, but I was worried about falling back into my old lifestyle. So I really tried to avoid the people that I normally hung out with. And I had a best friend. We were like brothers. We did everything together, good and bad. And he had called me up one night and wanted me to come out with them. And I knew I couldn't anymore. I couldn't do the things that I used to do. I knew I was different. But I didn't know how to express that to him. I didn't know how to explain what was going on in my life. So instead of sharing what God was doing with me, I avoided him. And so this night he asked me to come out with them, and I told him no. You know, I was seeing a girl and I wanted to spend time with, she's now my wife, which is a blessing. Yeah, I told him I didn't want to come out. I wanted to hang out with this girl. And about 2 a.m, I got a phone call from his mother. This was 4 months after I'd given my life to Christ. And she said I needed to rush to the hospital, that he had been shot and that he wasn't going to survive. And that if I wanted to say goodbye, I needed to get to the hospital. And so I rushed to the hospital, and he's laying there lifeless, just hooked up to all these machines. And I kneeled at his bedside and I just prayed, God, please accept him into your kingdom. Forgive me for not witnessing to him. Forgive me for not sharing what you were doing in my life. And it was at that moment I knew that I was going to have to share my story with anyone who would be willing to listen. And that young people were put on my heart, that I wanted to save them from the fate of myself or my best friend or my sister. And I want everyone to know the love of Christ. And it's by the grace of God and his mercy and forgiveness that I'm here today. And I want to share that with anyone that'll be willing to listen to my story.